Hey everyone, it's Keith, Key Creative Studio, Master Drawing Japan. Let's make a point to draw every day. So, in this video, I wanted to talk about um, the quality of line and making like organic lines when you're drawing, particularly when you're drawing the figure. So, I noticed that sometimes people, when they're beginners, when they set out to draw the figure, they might make like very straight lines, like this sort of thing, right? And if they're like trying to like put down the figure, they'll do something like this. Now, I'm not saying there's anything criminally wrong with that, but the problem is that sometimes it it takes away from the a cohesive feeling of all the lines like working together, actually. And I've seen a lot of like how-to books. They'll start off, like with a stick figure like this, right? And then they'll just like throw like shapes on top of it. And what I want to talk about is like how you can make your lines maybe a little bit more uniform in terms of working together to create an idea. Okay, so for example, actually, no, I'm not doing this like to discredit any other artist, because if they're trying to help people how to draw, that's a good thing. But I see stuff like this a lot, in terms of like how to lay out lay out the figure, or like parts of the figure, and you can see like how straight this line is, right? And if you look at your own arm, it doesn't look like that. Or let's say like the leg, right? Like that's not what you want to do. Um, this I saw like in a how to draw Superman or DC Comics or DC animation book or something like that. And this is a little bit better, but again, yeah, basically what we have here is the designer really just put like these lines down and then just like put these shapes on top of it. And I'm speaking from my own experience from like when I was much younger. I would see these kinds of like how to draw, books, and say, okay, like here's like step one, and here's like step two, and whatever. And but when you lay them out for beginners, they tend to really put these things down in a very graphic kind of way. So they actually will just like put like a line or something like that. Um, so I'm gonna come back to this in a second. So generally, like when you make your lines, instead of like just putting down like stick figure, like just long, just straight vertical or like horizontal lines like that, there are basically three kinds of lines that you want to make, or three quality types of lines you want to make. And basically you want these lines to either be like a C, like curving like a C, like this, right? Um, right. You want it to be like an S, like this, or like a curved I, like that. And you see how much like how I sweep my lines. I don't write, and I don't do this. I don't do that. This is not drawing. That is writing. Okay? Drawing should be an experience of creating a form, right? Not putting down like a graphic form, like a literal alphabetic character, or a numerical symbol or something like that. Okay? So for example, like if I was like to lay down this figure here, actually, no, before I get down to that, I want to talk about the line again. So if I do a C, make that a little bit clearer, all right? Because it's curved and it has this direction, this tends to make our eye travel. You see what I'm saying? Or if I do like this S curve, you can't help it. Your eye tends like to travel around it, or with this eye, right? You know, again, it has a feeling of movement, as opposed to that. That's just a line, and there's no particular change in that line. So, you know, having a curve causes our eyes like to actually like follow the direction and actually give us the feeling of like a form being created. Another thing that it creates a feeling of like movement is taking this same like curved line concept and then putting like one next to another one that's a little different, and another one that's a little different, and another one that's a little different, and another one's a little different. So it's almost like an animation. It's almost like animating in a way, because definitely you feel like this is moving, right? You know, you know, like that doesn't really have the same kind of like rhythm like that this does, right? So this is the kind of line that I suggest that you guys put into your figures when you're drawing. So instead of like doing something like that, you know, what you might want to do is put down lines that have a rhythm. You see how I'm skating around the page like this for these shoulders. I didn't just make them straight across. I curved them like that. There's a hand here. Okay, there's my gesture. Okay, so this is definitely a lot more organic than that. Okay, so when I lay down my forms on here, I'm sorry, my volumes, they're going to be supported a lot more by the rhythms that I placed in the gesture here. Okay, this is coming out. See, this is coming out. All right. Another thing, you know, I mean, I'm doing this very, very, very loose and rough. All right, I'm not. Um, I'm not putting any lines, you know, that are super committed right now. You know, I'm putting down lines that's giving me like the general, the general feeling. You see how that works? Okay. All right. So you know, so from that, you know, I can do something, you know, that's feeling a little bit more organic. Something like this, I put a shape on that, then a shape, you know, on that, and then okay, well, here's the arm, here's arm. It's almost, I mean, this looks almost like, you know, like I'm building, like I'm constructing, you know, a robot from Star Wars or something like that, right? It's looking very, very stiff, right? So I'm gonna show you one other thing. You know, let me go back to this other screen. So typically, you know, you want to make your lines like work together. You know, don't just lay down like a straight graphic line. You want to try to curve it and try to make the lines like work together. 1 second. So this is a page from How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and this is a little bit better. Um, a little bit better. But I have a better example in a moment. But the line that he's doing is very loose, right? It's very, very loose. It's not hard. Oops. Yeah, it's not like hard. And, oops. Excuse me. Yeah, it's it's not like hard and graphic right now. Like he just like you can see out of these three examples here. So I keep on losing my pace. The one at the top is the lightest one, right? And then the next one in the middle, of course, is a little bit more refined because he's, of course, like he's laying down the volumes, and of course, like that's the final one, right? So, but the best example I saw in here was this one. This is the good stuff. All right. So you see how now it might look like he's doing like a kind of a scribble, but what John Buscema is doing is, he's actually like sculpting out the figure. Like he's actually like this shoulder. You can see how it's curved. He's going over it like that, and then it comes into here, and then it goes like that. So, he's allowing his lines to be very, very organic and actually take on properties of what the rhythm and the forms are going to look like towards the end. And then so he goes from this to that, right? So all he did basically, he just added volumes. It's the exact same the exact same gesture, but of course he's just adding the volumes here, and then he can refine it even more to something like that, you know. So so basically, when you guys, like you see something like one of these like how to draw books, and then you get something like that. Try to make your lines as uniform as possible, okay? Because that's going to create a greater like sense of an organic experience for your audience, and then it'll feel like it's moving in a way. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop with that, and I will come back again later with another tip for you guys. All right. I'll see you next time. Take care. All right. Bye bye.